my kids and I were talking about dads earlier. I don't have a dad, didn't grow up with a dad, and he has since passed on. It's almost been a year. And then my kids don't really have a dad, and it's unfortunate because my kids are really cool and their dad is really cool. And if they could just get together, I think it would be a really, really fun thing. But he just doesn't have a lot of interest in wanting to know them. And matter of fact, several years ago it was really, really, really hard. And I'm not saying this to bust him or to tear him down. If you see this, it's not meant to hurt you. I'm just trying to let people kind of know what's going on in my world. And this was a difficult time that was created by somebody else's doing, that I had to deal with, that me and my kids had to deal with. My son has always been very angry because he doesn't have a relationship with his father, and there are things that have gone bad. And I will talk about that in other videos. And then my daughter, she's always had, I can take you or I can leave you. She just doesn't get twisted up. But several years ago, he moved away from us and has moved in and been involved with other people, with other kids all along. And we've had to deal with why does Dad be dad to other kids but not us? Why does Dad spend Christmas and their birthdays with them but not us? And so I've had to try to explain that, and that's hard for kids to understand. And I try to soothe it all the time and not to have them hate their father, and just try to understand that this is just the way it works out sometimes. And at the same time, I try to call their father, or I used to, and encourage him. You know, ask the kids how their day went. Put a card in the mail and just say, thinking of you, Dad. Just anything. I mean, little itty bitty things make huge impacts on kids. And he just never did that. But one day we got a phone call that I think and I hope that he now regrets, but it still happened, and we still have had to deal with the repercussions of it, and I don't appreciate that at all. And it has messed his relationship up with his kids, and I don't know if he'll ever be able to fix it, because this is something I don't think they're ever going to forget. He called one day and said that he had met someone who had children, and due to the way that he believes and the way that he thinks at this time and stage in his life, that you are father to the children, that you are around, that you're supporting, that you live with, or that you are married to their mother. If you're with their mother, then you are their father. And pretty much all your prior obligations are gone. And that pretty much we both acknowledged, my ex and I, that we did not have a loving relationship. We should have never been together. He cared nothing for me, and I cared for him because I wanted to care for someone. So he explained to them that we never had this loving relationship, and that they were products just out of sex, and that he was with someone else that had kids, and that essentially he chose them over his own, and not to be expecting birthday or Christmas or phone calls, or to call him father, or to hear son or daughter out of his mouth, or that was over and done, and he wanted to be a man about it, and he didn't want to be a coward about it, and he wanted to call them and tell them. But of course he's telling me, and I'm like, oh no, you're not going to be a coward about it. Remember, you're going to tell your kids. But and he does. He gets on the phone with both of my kids, and both of the kids are kind of like, who cares? He's not around anyway. It's like a big loss. I mean, he thinks he's hurting us, and he's not here anyway. But it hurt, because anytime my son's in the Boy Scouts, it was me and my son, not a dad and son. And then bring your dad to school day, and father-daughter dances, and there's plenty of opportunity for a father to be a part of a life, and theirs didn't want to be. He wasn't there, and it wasn't just the distance of the miles anymore due to where we lived. It was now in the heart, and he no longer had them in his heart, or at least that's what he told them. So that's what they had to believe, because they were the children. Sometimes he forgets it's not all about him, and sometimes he's not very good about thinking about other people than himself. But he created a huge hole in my baby's hearts that I don't know that they'll ever forgive, may forget, may move on from, and I hope they do. But that was a bad day. That was a hard day. That was a lot of days of crying and clinging to me, wanting to know why their daddy didn't love them. That was a long day of holding my little boy and saying there's nothing about him that is not absolutely perfect and wonderful and lovable, and that maybe Daddy's just having a hard time and Daddy will come around, and you just have to pray and you have to forgive him, and you still have to love him, because sometimes people just do things and regret it later, and we'll have to hope it's one of these situations. I've always encouraged my children to love him, even when their hearts wanted to hate him, and he won't ever give me the credit for that. And you know what? I don't care. I didn't do it for them. I did it for them. I'm trying to keep their hearts whole and intact, because I know what it feels like when it's not. And so should he, and it's a shame. But some people change things, and some people repeat things. And some people are just left to clean up the messes other people make. And if you've got kids out there, drop them a line, send them a phone call. I don't know what your problem is. I don't know what the relationship problem is, circumstances. If they don't want you in your life, maybe you've waited too long, and shame on you. But if it's not too late, you need to make the effort, because you're missing out. And you're destroying other people just from your lack of give a damn or selfishness. Because it only takes less than $1 to save a child's mind. You can buy a card pre-printed and write thinking of you mom, thinking of you dad, stick it in an envelope with a stamp that's less than 50 cents for less than $1. Your kid will go to the mailbox and there'll be something from mom or dad saying thinking of you, loving you, and your heart will fill with warmth